here at Bombay at the Beach. Today I have with me a very special guest. His name is Wayne Aiken. He runs a website called Myrtle Beach Remembered, and essentially the website is for basically documenting the history of Myrtle Beach, especially in the last 100 years, and seeing where we've come, like what used to be here and how it's changed through the years, and hopefully to take a snapshot of where we are today to look back on in the future, because Myrtle Beach seems to be having a very exciting future, either positive or negative depending on how you see it, but there's going to be a lot of development happening here in the near future.
It's going to be different, that you can say.
Yes, that is the correct word. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Wayne, and how you got into documenting, and basically you're the first like Myrtle Beach historian that I know.
One of them. Yeah.
Well, that I know. I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I first started coming to Myrtle Beach back in the early 70s with my grandparents, and from the mid 70s on, they had a mobile home in one of the trailer parks, one of the campgrounds in between Myrtle and North Myrtle. So I spent every summer here at the beach. Now, from 1980, I graduated from high school, and every summer while I was in college, I also came down and worked every summer here at the beach. From 1980 through 85, I worked at Ripley's. I was their arcade technician, and I fixed all the arcade games and everything else in the museum that was broken.
So is this back when, because right now we have two Ripley's, right? We have the Ripley's Believe It or Not at the beach on 9th and Ocean, and we have the Ripley's Aquarium in Broadway. Did that one used to be there, or is that a newer edition?
The one at Broadway at the time was a soybean field.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In fact, Burroughs and Chapin at one time was called Myrtle Beach Farms.
Okay.
And they managed farmland. That was their original business before they got into the entertainment business in the 40s and 50s. The entire area where the bypass is now was all farmland.
Okay.
So
the whole 17 bypass.
Yeah. Between the 17 bypass up until what's now the housing, that was all farmland.
Yeah, that reminds me of the town I grew up in New Jersey. So I'm from New Jersey, and East Windsor used to be a bunch of farmland as well. So I had moved into my town in about 2004. I even had classmates that remembered that, oh, this was just cornfields, and we used to have our Halloween thing over here, So, and now we have there's probably like a 10-acre area that's still been untouched, but you just think of it as an empty field. Everything has been developed, especially in the last 10 years since I've moved out of New Jersey. Every time I go back, I feel like there's a new shopping center or a new housing development or a new community of people that have moved in. So it's nice in some ways for the people, but then it's also like I finally understand what people were telling me when I was younger, of this isn't the same place that we grew up. They would tell me, and now I'm saying it to like my younger brother, and I feel like there's a lot of that same sentiment here in Myrtle Beach.
There is. And not just the people that live here. The 60s through arguably the 90s, a lot of people consider that to be the golden era of the boulevard.
Okay.
Of that little downtown entertainment district.
60s to the 90s.
Yeah. And of course, that's all arguable, and everyone has their own perspective on that. But that's when the pavilion was still there, the park was there, there were nightclubs all over the place, there were arcades all over the place. That technologically speaking, that was the heyday of the arcade era.
Okay.
Right, when all that absolutely boomed in the late 70s, early 80s, and I was right in the middle of it, right there on the boulevard.
They still have one arcade near the Gay Dolphin, and it's still, to this day, probably one of the largest arcades that I've seen.
Yeah.
Because I grew up, I was born in 91, so I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s, by the time which everybody had home consoles, right?
That's what killed the arcade.
Exactly. So everybody wants the arcade at home. You know, you can just put a new game in the system. Essentially, so I grew up with the PlayStation before it was even called PlayStation 1, you know?
Yeah.
And from there, it just kind of took over. And the only arcades, so to speak, that I knew of were like Chuck E. Cheese, and like for these kids' birthday parties, but not something like this where it's a giant space of just arcade games.
And you'll notice that most arcades now are full of various games to spit out tickets to win prizes.
Oh yeah.
That's how they made the transition there. Back in the 80s, it was, that was when Pac-Man came out. This was when all these various games that you played just because the game was fun.
Oh yeah, and the goal was just to get the highest score.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't about the tickets, which are a shame anyway.
Yeah.
Don't tell the 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds that.
Yeah. I mean, there's always been skee ball, that sort of thing, but just to be there on the boulevard at that time was such a fun time. Mm-hmm. And then I moved after I graduated college. I stayed in Raleigh. That's where I promised where I live now. Okay. And I, got a job, got involved with things, and I still came to the beach every now and then because I got some family down here. But I wasn't anywhere near as involved in it as I once was. Right. Till I heard a rumor in 2005 that the pavilion was going to be shutting down and closing. And that was just such a shocker. That's the sort of thing it was such an iconic institution. You would think it would be around in some form forever.
Yeah, to this day, still called pavilion there.
Yeah, we've had a whole complete generation of children growing up now who will never know what the pavilion. When in fact it used to be the case that the grandparents would always take their grandchildren to see the pavilion, and they would take their children.
They don't know what exactly was at the pavilion, because I know there used to be an amphitheater, right, for concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
What else used to be?
There was the big building, which was the pavilion itself. The upper part of it was a performance and concert space.
Okay.
It was called the Magic Attic in later days.
Oh, okay.
But lots and lots of different types of shows had been there over the years. The ground floor was an arcade. It had always been an arcade from the very start, even back in the days when all of the games and things were all just mechanical driven. And of course it had all the latest video games during the 80s. Then there was the amusement park across the street, and it grew and grew over the years. The original park, when it moved in, was just along Flag Street. Okay. That little 1/3 of that block. Then they added a roller coaster. Then the motels that had been in the rest of the block just started moving.
Meaning like from Ocean to Flag?
Yeah.
From Ocean to Flag, that's it?
The Boulevard to Flag, and that was it.
That's a very small amount of space.
But they had a lot of rides packed in there.
Yeah.
Eventually, it grew, and it grew out. Of course, basically from Flag to Chester Street was parking. They moved into that. Then, and that was the way it was through the time that I was there. And later on, the segment they actually went to the city and had Chester Street closed off, and then they expanded all the way to Highway 17 in that space, and that's the way it was till it closed.
Yeah, I've always thought that it was a little bit abnormal how
Flag and Chester go all the way down to First Avenue. Yeah, and they just does break between 8th and 9th, and then they continue back as far as it goes.
That's exactly why. And and then back in '85, Chestnut Street went all the way across, and it helped tremendously with traffic. I wish they would open it back up. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
There was also, at various times, they had a number of miniature golf courses in the park itself, as well as on the ocean side. And of
there
course,
used to be a Sharky's miniature golf over here, right? Was
there
it
was
Sharky's or Shark Attack?
it was Shark Attack, and that was where the Chesterfield Motel had been.
Okay.
That was a very old, famous motel, actually on the National Register of Historic Places. But being an old motel, there's only so much they could do with it, and they ended up tearing it down, and it turned into Shark Attack Miniature Golf, and then behind it was a little nightclub and restaurant. And even though the boardwalk was in operation at the time, it just wasn't able to make it.
How long ago?
And you see they developed it now, and it's apartments.
Is that what it is? They're going to be apartments? I thought it was a hotel.
Yeah, it's going to be apartments or some sort of condos.
Okay.
And they're saying that the street level might be some sort of businesses.
Yeah, the street level will be businesses. But so, how long ago did Shark Attack mini golf shut down? Because I moved here in 2018, and when I moved here, I used to play this game called Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
And which is wonderful for me because because I was new here, and it gave me a reason to walk around and see all the new places because so many new Pokestops and everything.
Yeah, and gyms and all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So walking straight down, right next to the Diplomat, there's a Pokestop for Shark Attack Miniature Golf with the sign and everything.
Yeah.
So but I've never seen it because it was never there since I've been here. But Pokemon Go only came out in 2016, so I'm assuming it might have been taken down around that time, or am I mistaken?
Around, I forget the exact date, but I think around 2014, 2015 or so, that was when it shut down. And you'll notice they recycled parts of the property into the miniature golf course because the ocean where the boat sat. Did you ever see the animation of the shark popping out of the water? Oh, thank you.
No, I haven't. So
That was the swimming pool.
So real quick, so this is patura,
Okay.
and so this is like a fried bread, all right. And normally we'll eat it with like chole is chickpeas, like so.
Yeah.
But I like to eat it with eggs. So this is anda bhurji. At home, we'll call it ande ka kharas. Basically, it's like our version of scrambled eggs.
Oh, okay.
And so you just use the bread to pick up the eggs, and let's do it this way.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. But yeah, they reused parts of the annex that had been added later to the Chesterfield. The concrete rooms, where some of those were turned into holes for the miniature golf.
The concrete?
Yeah, literally, one room would lead to the next and the next, and there were different holes in the golf.
Yeah, I don't think there's any miniature golf left along the ocean, right? I can't.
Good question, because there were a number of them at one time.
Yeah.
Now that Shark Attack is gone, I don't think there are
Yeah,
currently.
people probably found it more lucrative to buy it and develop hotels and make money. You know,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's
Which is why the space now, is like a multi-story condo or whatever it's going to be.
whatever it's gonna be. Recently the Diplomat has been bought as well. That was always my dream hotel when I first moved here. I'd say, oh, we're gonna make enough money to buy the Diplomat one day.
Oh, that's the Mitchell family. They also own part of the Chesterfield when it was there. No, I had not heard about the Chesterfield. There's always something going on.
Yeah.
And you notice that the Chesterfield is one of those motels that was built back during the 50s and 60s. And one of the ways that you can notice that is the way they use those special ornate building blocks, and they'll put them together to make patterns. That's called doo-wop style. And you'll see a lot of that up in New Jersey, New York, places like that as well. So that was so it kind of dates itself. It goes back to the 60s and 70s. You'll see that same building style in some of the older motels.
I'm just trying to visualize it on my head as you're telling me,
Yeah. But so when I heard that the pavilion was shutting down, I thought to myself, "Oh gosh, I got to go see that."
Yeah.
And then I didn't have a camera. In fact, I had never had a camera the whole time I'd lived here at the beach, and I wish that I did.
Right.
I got a nice camera and came down and enjoyed the pavilion and the amusement park in its last days. Went to all the events, and while I was down here, I thought, well, okay, I think I'm gonna like to ride around and see what else has happened to all of the other places that I remembered while I lived here. Places where I'd had a lot of fun, knew a lot of people, and I was shocked to find nearly nothing where it was. And not only was there nothing there or something completely different, nobody knew anything at all about it. It almost as if it didn't even exist. Myrtle Beach has a lot of people who are, families who had lived here for a long time. But it's also a very, very, very transient place as well. People come in here from all over the region, all over the country actually, who will come in to work. And quite often they know just a little bit about where they happen to work and nothing else.
Yep.
I mean, they couldn't even tell you what had been there the year before. So I thought, okay, well, I'll go to the internet and see what I can find there. And
I agree with that statement that you just made. The people that come here and work, please.
Yeah.
So the people that come here and work and they don't necessarily know what was there the previous year or what's going on in the park. Because I feel that same way, right? Because I live here, I work here. Majority of my life here in Myrtle Beach is specifically right here.
Yeah.
Right. I may walk down to the beach regularly. Or I go do some shopping for the store. For the restaurant. And majority of my life is right here on this part of 17 business, or it's off of 501. So all these other places where people actually live, like Market Common and all these, there's a whole bunch of places, housing areas and everything that are being built. I was just at a place not too long ago, and they're like, oh yeah, we're building 400 homes here, 600 homes there, and that just tells me that in the last 6 years, there's been a whole bunch of development that even though I'm here in the heart of Myrtle Beach, I haven't seen it because this is the only place I've been.
Yeah.
So all the outer Myrtle Beach area and the residential Myrtle Beach area has been developing like crazy, and I haven't witnessed any of it because I've been right here.
For a long time, Myrtle Beach was just a sleepy little southern town during the winter. In fact, I think they even blinked the stoplights. There was so few traffic on the road.
They still do that sometimes.
And it was very seasonal. I mean, there was nothing during the winter. Then all of a sudden, summer came, and you have the hundreds of thousands of people here. And of course, it grew over the years naturally, but it seems like it's been growing on steroids here recently. And I think I think they're trying to attract a lot of retirees. I think they're trying to get a more stable year-round economy going, rather than just the summer season like they once had. The golfers, for example, have been sustaining the fall season for quite a while. And, anyway, I went to the internet to see what I could find about places, and again, I was shocked. This is 2005, 2006, 2007 time frame, and I found next to nothing on the internet about any of those places that I remembered. But I did find that on eBay there was a lot of business in old postcards. And postcards and brochures at one point in time had been a lot bigger than they are now. Hardly anybody makes postcards anymore because they email. But those had pictures on them, and they were very useful. They're in doing a lot of historical research. As I found things, and as I took my own pictures of here's where something used to be, and describe it to the best of my memory, I started a website to hold all of that, and that's where Myrtle Beach Remembered came from. And since then, I've met and talked to some other Myrtle Beach historians, a lot of people who are a little bit more local than I am.
Right.
And it's been an interesting adventure to see how it's changed over the years. I mean, if there's anything you can say about Myrtle Beach, it's changed. I mean, literally from one season to the next.
Definitely.
So since then, I've been coming down several times every summer, at least, and on the holidays, and I always make a trip into Myrtle Beach and go and see something, and I take a lot of pictures of the things now, because what's here now might not be here next year.
This place won't be.
Yeah, unfortunately, I hate to see. I mean, there's enough that happens in Myrtle Beach that doesn't work. That might be there for a season or two, and that's it. And again, that's the nature of the business.
Definitely.
But I hate to see businesses that have been successes, that have been around for a good number of years, and would probably keep going were it not for the plans of the city hall.
Yeah, man. It's a little bit sad to think about. For a lot of people, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
They hear, oh, the city's gonna build something big here, but for the people that have had to move out, it's not necessarily so exciting. Right?
And it's not just the people who own the businesses and who work here. It's also the tourists too,
Yeah.
because they will say, hey, remember that place that we took the family to a season or two? Let's go back there again. Or they'll go there and they'll see an empty lot and think, what in the world happened to that? I get an awful lot of requests through my website to find old motels that they stayed at when they were children. There's a real nostalgia boom going on now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always something new in Myrtle Beach. There's still a lot of great things here, but people remember a lot of older things as well.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed about nostalgia, at least for me individually, is I only feel nostalgia when I've come out of like my status quo. Like for
Yeah.
example, when I was growing up,
Oh, thank you.
I never had a feeling of nostalgia for anything, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm experiencing everything new and I'm excited for what's to come and all that. And then you hit a certain age where you're like, okay, I like the things how they are now. But the thing is, just as things change from the time you were a child to the point where you
Yeah.
realize that, things will continue to change going forward. It doesn't stop because you're happy. And
Yeah.
then that's where the nostalgia kicks in because, okay, you get to a certain point, you're like, oh, I like how things are, but then things change, but you're at an age where you can deal with the changes, and then you get to a point where you're like, man, things are changing so much. Let me think back onto these times. Let me think back to how things were at this point in time.
I think that may be partially because you associate the places where you were and what you were doing with various happy times in your life. So there's a back and forth there because sometimes those places were the happy things that you like,
Right.
and everybody likes something. There's for every little restaurant that someone makes that might only last a short period of time, there's somebody out there that really liked that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, would like to go back to it if they could.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of places from when I used to live in California, and the best example of that is there's one place from New Jersey. So I went to college at NJIT. My very first day out for you, and so it was about an hour commute to school and an hour commute back. So even though I had a big break in between classes, sometimes I couldn't do like some of my other classmates that would just go back to the dorm and chill for.
Yeah.
So I would have to find something to do. And so my very first day of class, I came across this food truck, very first food truck I ever ate from. It was called Taj Mahal, which is actually kind of that quite coincidental because the previous name of this Bombay beach used to be called Taj Mahal.
Tuck.
So, completely unrelated. But so this food truck was called the Taj Mahal. This is the first time I was introduced to like halal platters. I don't know if you ever had halal platters like halal guys and stuff like that. They'll take like the hero and stir it over rice, the white sauce and the hot sauce.
I haven't had that.
Oh yeah, well you got to try it one time. I think there's a couple of places here, but beach down that you will. But essentially that was the first time I ever had platters, and I was hooked from day one. But I didn't know. So the lady that owned the truck, that is in the truck, saw like how dude like that I didn't know what to order. She's like, "Here, let me just give you a little bit of everything, and then when you come back." And I was like, okay, how much do I? She's like, no, this is just you trying our food. So you got a little bit of everything. And trust me, the amount of food that she gave me was more than a dish worth of food. She gave me the chicken over rice, the lamb over rice. She gave me the piece of falafel. She gave me a little bit of everything. And she's like, when you come back tomorrow, then you can pay.
That's good. That's good business.
It's not like she knew who I was or anything, right? It's not if you come back tomorrow or the next time you come back. She said, when you come back tomorrow. Like she knew.
That's good.
And the thing is, she did know. Because I eat there just about every day. That was that class. So some days I have a little bit more cash in my pocket. Some days I have a little bit less cash. But she had options for everything. So the platter was $8 if I wanted. It was $7.50 for chicken over rice, $8 for lamb over rice, or $8.50 for the combo. I can get lamb and just visit it. And so if I had $10 in my pocket, that's what I would get. I get that and drink.
Nice.
But if I had $5 in my pocket, they had a potato pan sub. So like, and so not the falafel, but potato patties. And so sandwich was like this big at $3.50. So if I have $5 in my pocket, I get this big old sandwich with all the sauces in it and a drink, $5 flat. Oh,
No,
but so if I had $5 or $10, I can eat there. I would eat there every single day. Because each of those things would give me 2 meals, right? The sub was big enough, I could eat it for lunch and dinner, right? And the same with the platters. And I try to keep a little bit of that principle till this day.
and that's the nice thing about local establishments. I mean, chains are fun because you know they're going to be the same regardless of where you are. But almost always the best food is going to be some little small private place wherever you happen to be. And speaking of Myrtle Beach, this is fantastic. I mean, I've had eggs, with the good old copper sauce on them, Texas beef. Yeah, this is really good.
Thank you. Yeah, this is one of my favorite breakfasts. So whenever my grandma comes or my aunt comes, this is what we make. So there's eggs, onions, spices. Sometimes we use green chili. Sometimes we use chili powder to basically. I could eat. Yeah, when I was younger, especially, I would eat 2 of these.
Oh,
So other ones, yeah, I would eat 2 of these and like 3 of the breads. Normally we eat it with a roti, which we make it on the stove. But you're my guest. I wanted to give you something a little special. So did you like the bread as well? The bread
This is really just great.
Yes. So
Thinking you're gonna have a breakfast with us. That wouldn't be.
Yeah,
it'd be nervous.
yeah. I mean, anyone can order this. So we don't open for breakfast, right? We open at 11. So we have our menu, and then we have a number of off-menu items as well. Regulars know our off-menu items. So they'll come, they'll order this, they'll order the chili chicken, they'll order the gobi manchurian. We have a selection of fried rices. So all of these things that are not on the menu. As people have come here and tried so many different things on the menu, they keep asking us, "Oh, give us something different. Give us something different." Shoot, these are like, all right, well, we can make really whatever. I have probably the best chef in the country, especially when it comes to Indian food. And I myself am a pretty decent cook. I would call myself chef because I'm like the chef. But I know my way around the stove.
But you have to buy them too to get all the ingredients.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's been so many nice or so many different restaurants. Like I mentioned to you earlier, one of my favorite places I used to like to go to was Bodo's German restaurant, just a block over here.
Yeah, Shenandoah.
And that was authentic White Forest food, style of German food.
Right.
It something that you don't get anywhere.
Yeah. I think there's a Black Forest restaurant because and there's 2 places because Austrian and German have overlap, right? They're roughly.
Oh, you're thinking about Cafe Old Vienna?
Cafe Old Vienna?
Yeah.
But there's also a place in North Myrtle Beach. And
Forest Guest House, which is, I believe it's in Windy Hill.
you're right. And so I used to live over that way on 38th Avenue and Dooms there. I think this place is on 39th.
It's pretty close, yeah.
And then, so maybe 40th. Yes.
But so many of these places had so much history to them. Raffle Bodo's was once a guest house.
Well, that's that.
And then back in the late 70s, it was a hippie clothing store.
The big clothing store. Imagine if that was still in business.
But at one time, Myrtle Beach was just a little small square with a roof peak in the middle, houses all up and down the beachfront.
Yeah.
Then they started building the motels, smaller, and some of the larger motels like the Yacht Club,
Right.
where the 14th Avenue Pier is now. Then the pavilions came in. Then there was after the war there was an explosion of various guest houses and smaller motels, and so many of those were where the people who literally built them themselves and ran them, they also lived there.
Yes.
And then come the 60s and 70s with the bigger motels, and then the amusement parks came in, and then that was when the boom really happened. Myrtle Beach started to be as popular as it was back then.
Yeah. I wish I could go back and see what it was like.
Yeah, and they looked, those different eras look so different from each other, and it's like it's starting to look different now. You know,
Like every 10 years.
yeah, you're noticing that there's been that these little smaller motels for the 50s and 60s, there are very few of those left anymore.
Yeah.
And they said, on the oceanfront, they're being replaced by all of these huge, tall motels. And even they are not immune from problems. There have been some of those who have had to shut down and have had various problems, and I'm not surprised they haven't started tearing some of them down yet. Mm-hmm. But there's no telling where it's going to go there, because Myrtle Beach is still, even though it's been isolated somewhat, being a entertainment vacation resort, it's still subject to the inflation and everything else that affects the country as a whole.
Yeah, that's another. And some of it is just the natural inflation that the country is going through, and some of it I feel like is artificial, because you have people that are coming in there and just paying whatever to buy things. So if everybody's buying something for X, right, and someone comes in and offers Y, then all of a sudden everybody else wants Y for their business.
It's a race to the top.
Yeah, so it just keeps going up and up, and as long as people keep paying, it's gonna keep going. I've still told this story a couple of different times, but there's a house right over here on Fifth Avenue, First Avenue, somewhere in between, but it's on the other side of 17. And there was a house I was looking at when I was in the market a few years ago, and it sold in 2021 it sold in 2020 for $230,000.
Amazing. And those aren't big houses either.
No, but this was like a 4-unit, 5-unit. It was turned, it was expanded, and it was like multi.
Oh, okay.
But no, enough. It sold in. So you're already shocked at the 230,000.
Yeah.
Okay. 2020. So 2020 sold for 230 something thousand. 2022, it sold for 490.
Oh wow.
And now last year it was on the market for 700,000. So this is a span of 3 years, 2020 to 2022, 20 to 2023, and so it sold for 234. If you look at the previous sell date before that, it was like 100 and something thousand. So every time it's been doubling or 200.
I just hope we don't get to the point where it's like up north, where nobody can afford an apartment or anything, and even the people who might be working, say, at the local McDonald's or someplace, where are they going to live that they can afford to live?
Yeah,
without commuting for however long. At a certain point, you get to where you can't find anyone. That's exactly the situation they're in.
And this is exactly the problem, because I think one of the best markers for a stable place to live is where even the person that's making the least amount of money is able to live.
And it might not be fancy, and they might have some roommates, but at least it's comfortable.
Right.
For a long period of time, there's been a lot of 4-H students coming down and working, and a lot of the people, a lot of students would come into town in the summers, and other people.
We still have them. Yeah, the J1s, the seasonal workers.
Yeah.
They still come in. Actually, there's a full. A lot of Myrtle Beach runs on these seasonal workers as well because, from Memorial Day to Labor Day,
Yeah.
so much more business that we can't hire full-time workers. We need some seasonal workers. Here, it's just the four of us in that work. Myself, my uncle, 2 kitchen. Consultation for the spot plus. So this is pretty tight shit in the restaurant. But it makes sense because this goes back to my old point I wanted to make a little bit earlier when we were talking about how that German restaurant used to be a guest house.
Yeah.
That is a little bit of the Myrtle Beach charm. Actually, that's a lot of the Myrtle Beach charm that no longer exists. Is the places that used to be houses converted into restaurants.
Like this place. Yeah.
Exactly like this house. Converted to restaurants or other businesses. And
you get the architecture as well.
different architecture, yeah. So like,
there's a sense of continuity when you see something like
100%. And I live upstairs, so I still have the feeling of okay, this is my house and I have a backyard. But my parking lot also used to be part of that backyard.
Yeah.
Right before it became a business, I was part of the yard.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm extremely comfortable with the amount of space I have in the steps. Like I'm not like we have fake restaurants there. Dad and stepmom also lived there. I lived there. Uncle lives there. We have, the whole family here that we're running the restaurant. We all live here. And there's more than enough space for us just upstairs. So now imagine that this is a family home. We have a basement that's the same size as the building. It's a full basement.
Now, one of the few structures in town that does.
Yeah. And after this, there might not be.
Yeah.
So
the Gay Dolphin and the one in the corner there. They're that little wedge-shaped building.
Yeah. Like there's another building here across from the post office that has this very small basement. It's like go in there and it's probably, you see right here that pillar.
Yeah.
So that pillar to this wall, the basement is less than that size.
Oh, wow.
So it's a tiny basement. Whereas the basement I have here is from this wall all the way to my kitchen wall. Like how it is. So like the space from this wall to the back of my kitchen, that's how big our basement is. Same size as, like we have 3 floors of equal size.
Oh, you learned something new every day.
But think that all 3 of these just used to be a family home. Imagine this was a mansion.
Yeah, this has been a big family.
Quite legitimately a mansion, because, like I said, we have 4 bedrooms upstairs already. So how much more space do you really need?
Yeah. And there's still a few of the older, larger homes around.
Yeah.
But like I say, not that many in the area.
Right now. That's why I love this place so much. Like when Malfoy has been working here for almost 20 years. When my dad bought this place, because the previous owner sold it, Malfoy was working for them. That, they told my dad, hey, they're selling the place for weapons. So we got the place. And then after my dad bought the place, I came to visit him my first time in Myrtle Beach. Christmas 2017. And a month later, I was like, I shouldn't be come there. So I used to work in IT. I had a whole different career.
That's what I do.
Yeah, nice. That whole different career. When my dad got to this place, I was like, I was just so enamored by the charm and everything about it. Like I instantaneously fell in love. And I always like cooking. I've always liked dealing with people. I didn't necessarily like just being at my desk all the time. So even when I was working in an office, I would walk around the floor, get to know everybody on first name basis, and even if I never worked with them, or even if but everybody, I made sure to know everybody that was on the floor, or that thing you mean, like, And so like that's just kind of person I am. I but that's something that like my dad is very great with names and faces and just quickly forming relationships with people. So
Of course, you have the benefit of actually having a family business, which is another aspect that we see so much of down here.
yeah, that's in the okay. I worked off. Yeah, so to me, it was a no-brainer to look down here, what's up with Temple, and have this, as my career shift, you know?
Yeah.
I love, and I'm so sad to see it go. And it's gonna be tough to replicate what we have here.
It's always tough, and and especially at a restaurant. There's a lot of expense to setting up a brand new restaurant.
And which is exactly what it's gonna have to be, because originally I was thinking, oh, we can take a lot of this stuff with us and whatever, but like the stuff that we can take with us is the stuff that can literally like move from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of the kitchen stuff that I thought we could take with us, we can't.
No.
Yeah.
So much of that has to be engineered into the building.
Exactly. Which is, goes to show that my lack of experience in the restaurant industry, right? I came here into a fully functioning, already maintained restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
So, while I'm thinking, oh, I know how to run a restaurant and this, that, no, I know how to cook, I know how to talk to people, I know how to do big. But as far as like building a restaurant, I had no idea. Actually, because I was thinking, okay, well, we can save this part of it or that part of it. It's like, no, that's literally nothing to build that. You can't do anything with that.
Yeah.
That was, oh wow, that was complete because it's fully functioning. And, oh, this works perfectly fine. Why can't we take it? Because it's built into the place.
Oh no, same issue.
So the fucking up guys. Dang. Done. So what are you doing nowadays? You're saying you're working at IT. What do you do?
I work for actually, coincidentally, it's a kitchen ventilation company called Captivate.
Oh wow. Okay.
And we do the ventilation systems above the cooking equipment, commercial kitchens, a lot of national chains.
Yeah.
It's just the biggest company of that type in the country.
Nice. Cool. And so if you're working at IT, what in there do you really like do on the data side? Do you do like database or?
I do all of that. I've been there for many years and been involved with lots of aspects of it. We have a big ordering system that we use, and of course, the database associated with that.
Nice. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's been interesting.
Yeah, to be fair, I wasn't expecting that you'd be working in IT.
Yeah.
Because we've just only been talking about Myrtle Beach and all that, But that's really cool. It's really cool. And you're over in Raleigh, as you mentioned. I wanted to talk about this is after these real quick. Okay, so let me. All right, so we have some of these old photos from the Anchor Bank collection. So, as my personal historian, tell me a little bit about the Anchor Bank first, and what exactly is the Anchor Bank?
Anchor Bank was a local bank, and I know that they were opened in the early 80s because that's the bank that I kept my money in. And they were located at 21st Avenue North, right directly across from where the Wachovia on Oak Street and the Convention Center at Oak Street. They were on the other corner from that.
Yeah.
Which is also a bank nowadays, but it's not Anchor Bank anymore.
Yeah, so it is the location of today's TD Bank.
Okay, yeah, right.
21st Avenue and Oak Street.
And at one point in time, they made up a collection of all these classic photographs from the old Myrtle Beach. And I think there was about 20 some pictures in the collection total. And they sold an awful lot of others in the area. And you'll see, and
They sell these.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a pack that came with all the individual pictures in them, with the little captions down at the bottom of the picture.
I see it.
And it is hard to find the full pack complete packs nowadays. Usually you'll just find one or two or three of the various pictures.
And then, so this one is my favorite one of the 4 that I have. Well, technically it's 2 prints, so I have 5 prints,
Yeah.
4 frames.
Yeah,
And this one is my favorite one because this is legitimately 100 years ago. This is a shot along
yeah. Myrtle Beach is a very, very young beach
Yes.
compared to so many places up north. I mean, there was literally nothing here but just little fish camps here and there, and a lot of agriculture, a few old plantations in the area. That was about it. There was a very narrow, rickety road, if you can even call it a road, coming into the area from Conway,
Right.
and that was about it.
Yeah.
So it's nothing needed. The very first motel, which really started everything off, was the Seaside Inn, and that was right very close to the turn of the century, the 1900s year.
Okay.
Now there were various initiatives
Yeah.
that were made a few years after that to try to attract a few people to start a town, and those little small square houses with the peak of the roof right in the very center of it.
Okay.
I don't know if you have that particular picture here. I'm sure you probably see those in some pictures, but they were offering if you built, I think.
Oh, this is the inn you're talking about, right?
That is the inn. That is the Seaside Inn.
So this is
After
right
it was
here
moved.
on 8th Avenue. So this
Yeah.
is right. So we're here on 7th Avenue. So right behind us, where the Pavilion Square is, that is 8th Avenue. In fact, this is where Pavilion Square is now, where they used to have the zip line, where they have the Country Carolina Music Festival, the
That
Carolina Country Music Festival.
That's exactly where it is.
And this is the side where is that German restaurant that what was it called?
Bodos.
Bodos. And there was an old rum and raw bar, biker bar that was extremely popular, especially during bike week. It's no longer here.
Yeah,
Eat it.
the Midtown Inn is there now.
So the Midtown would be right here, where this
Yeah.
building is. And you said so. This is Chester before it got closed down
That's right.
and became the.
Became the Pavilion Amusement Park.
So this says about 40 years ago, but who knows when this picture was taken. This looks like it's probably from the 50s, right?
I think this collection came out sometime during the 80s.
Okay.
So if you go backwards for that, you're into the 40s and stuff.
Before did you say? Okay.
And actually, that Seaside Inn where we see it there now, which is parallel to 8th Avenue North. It was parallel to the ocean.
So it used to be this way,
Yeah,
and then you told me they.
they moved it. They used a big lumber saw and cut it in half, and used mule teams and logs to move it from where it was, where the highway does that funny little S curve.
Yes.
And they moved it to be closer to the ocean and parallel to 8th Avenue. Then years after that, they actually built an annex building to go all the way down to the boulevards.
Wow.
And then there was a little small pavilion was made, which was the first pavilion. It was a little small round structure, more like a gazebo, and they would have bands there at night. But they said that I believe that if you built one of those houses, then I think you got the land through.
No way.
Yeah, that's how they. That was like at the very beginning, but they had no idea how valuable that was going to be.
Right.
And they did try to do anything they could to attract people and bring them in. So like I say, there was very, very little here. It was just a not even a small little southern town at that point. It was just
Something there.
Yeah. Now, originally, most of the motels, like the Seaside Inn, that was that was envisioned as a vacation spot for a lot of the mill and factory workers in the region. So it was a very its origin was very much a middle class thing. Although back in the 20s, there was a section that was built up north, which was seen as more of a resort. And that was the Ocean Forest Hotel. That was where, and that area was the center of cultural life for the longest time. It's where the first radio station was. It's where all the high schools went for their proms and graduation.
I'll tell you one thing I do like about the North Myrtle Beach area, and like, so looking at this photo, so 1923, 1924, legitimately 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago now, it looks like it's just all barren sand with a couple of, this is actually just a parking lot of cars. There's a total of 2 buildings in this photo, and what seems to be the predecessor for the 14th Avenue View.
Yeah, the yacht view.
Right. But it looks quite barren. However, if I go to North Myrtle Beach, or if I go a little bit south of Myrtle Beach, there's so much forest and jungle and vegetation. Like, for example, where the across from the Tanger outlets, across from Bass Pro Shop, there's that Meher Baba Spiritual Center.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with that.
500 acres of pristine, untouched land. And from my understanding, the entirety of that region used to look like that before all the development happened and all the trees were cut down, including that giant shopping center. Because that giant shopping center used to be part of the Meher Center.
Myrtle Beach Mall.
Yeah.
There at Briarcliff. It was Briarcliff Mall. It's had several different names over the years. When I was staying with my grandparents at the campground, the Holiday Inn Travel Park, at the time, that whole area between Restaurant Row and North Myrtle Beach was all nothing but forest. And I was familiar with the Meher Baba Center because it was right by the travel park.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we used to explore that all the time. It was actually good. And they were nice, but they didn't really care for that. And interestingly enough, one of the main financiers of starting Myrtle Beach, Simeon Chapin, that's why I call it Burroughs and Chapin. Chapin was particularly attracted to this area because of the forests and the swamps. He was very big into hunting.
Right.
And this was a perfect spot for him. His daughter was involved with the Meher Baba.
Yeah, she's the reason that.
And she's the one that set them up in that land to have that center there.
Originally, it was 1,000 acres, but then they sold off half of it to become that shopping center.
Yeah.
I can't tell you. So, the first time I ever went to that place was in November. This past November. I've lived here for 6 years, 5.5 at that point. And I have customers that come here from there, right? That are vegetarians.
A lot of people visit the area.
Definitely.
And one of the most famous is Pete Townsend from The Who.
Yep. And I was told of that place by these devotees.
And you never know it if you drive by.
That's exactly my point. Is it's right on. It's right on 17.
Right across from the mall.
Right.
And then unless you saw that gate, you would never notice.
No one ever told me that it was across from the mall. All I heard was, it's there, North Myrtle Beach. It ran all the way to North Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
But I used to live in North Myrtle Beach for about 9 months. And so I would drive here every day. Twice a day, right? Never knew it was there. And then one day, I just was driving, I was at the traffic light, and I happened to look this way. Because it's all trees on this side, right?
Right.
And it's just legitimately a tiny little gate. And so I just happened to look, 'cause I've been to that mall numerous times.
Right.
right? Nice pawn shop is
And the
there.
other side is right behind the Walmart.
Right. So, a number of times I visited that mall, I never looked this way and seen the sign. Finally, I saw the sign. I was like, "It's right here this whole time." So when my mom visited, which coincidentally was just like a week or two after I figured out that it was there, I took her there because she's always wanted to go. She lives in New Jersey, so she only visits me once every few years.
It's a real nice retreat there. And, I hope they can keep it because that's, the amount of the original woods is shrinking so rapidly. When I was there, when I lived there, that road, it was originally called Star Route 2. That's where you would find Apache Campground, the Myrtle Beach Travel Park, and a couple of others. That was all there was on the beachfront. And when that road went back out and connected to the highway, where there's a big Walmart complex and all, there was nothing there. That was just nothing but forest. There was a golf course back in there, which is still there, but that was all.
Us gotten some wine. Us. Mr. A. Wayne, thank you so much for this conversation. It was really a pleasure learning about where Myrtle Beach has been. I do look forward to speaking with you again.
Oh yeah, we got to do this again sometime.
100%.
There's so much to this.
There is so much to, and I would love to learn all about it. And I feel like this was a great stepping stone for future conversation.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming down and visiting my establishment and sharing a meal with me, talking to me, and just essentially he's given me quite a bit of history of the place that I call home and I hope to call home for many years to come.
Yeah. I wish you could have. I only wish that you could have seen some of his lettuces. Like I say, back in their time, it was a lot of fun.
I believe it. That will use it. I believe it. Please tell me again your website. Myrtle Beach Remembered.
Right, it's Myrtle Beach Remembers, and it is literally www.myrtlebeachremembered.com. That will get you into the top level.
Person's for good. Thank you so much. Right. Look forward to seeing new additions onto your website, and maybe my place will be there.
Oh, it definitely would.
It is not. It's not a place that I think many people will forget. Like I said, this has been here for a long time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you had mentioned earlier, people that remember places when they come and visit, they try to go to those places again. I have customers that come back after 15 years. And
nice.
Yeah. Legitimately, I had someone that came after 15 years. Like, this is when they first moved down here. And first of all, he's also great with faces. You remember that from 15 years ago. And then there was a family that came after 10 years. They were going to come in 2020. So then, of course, the pandemic happened. And they didn't end up coming until 2 months ago. And so,
yeah, it's an idea. Maybe you should focus something, let people know that this might not be here for much longer. Come for one last time.
Right. Well, the idea, hopefully you can respond to on one. We're going to relocate, so we'll still have while I have the beach, but it just won't be in this.
It still won't be in the classic location.
No. It won't be in the place that made me fall in love with the area in the first place. They're going to be somewhere more modern. All right. Thank you so much.